The Forum, Los Angeles. November 13th, 1988. Bad World Tour. Final night in L.A. before heading to Japan. Michael Jackson is walking to the backstage corridor toward his dressing room between sets. 60 minutes into the show. 20 minutes until he needs to be back on stage for the acoustic section. The corridor is chaos. Crew moving equipment. Dancers changing costumes. Assistants running with clipboards and headsets. Michael is in his zone. Focused. Professional. Moving through the chaos like he's done 1,000 times before. Then something falls. An envelope. White. Plain. Slips from a stack of mail his assistant is carrying as she rushes past. Falls to the concrete floor. Lands face up at Michael's feet. Michael stops. Looks down. And freezes. Because he can see the handwriting on the envelope. The address. Written in elegant cursive. The distinctive slant of the letters. The way the M in Michael loops at the top. The careful formation of each word. He knows that handwriting. Would recognize it anywhere. Even though he hasn't seen it in 6 years. Diana Ross. His childhood mentor. The woman he fell in love with as a boy. The woman who shaped him, guided him, protected him, and never loved him back the way he needed. They haven't spoken in 6 years. Not since 1982. Not since Michael confessed his feelings at her house, and she told him gently, devastatingly, "I'll always see you as someone I helped raise." 6 years of silence. 6 years of Michael trying to move on, trying to love other people, trying to accept that his first love, his deepest love, would never be returned. And now there's an envelope on the floor. Diana's handwriting on it. Addressed to him. His stage manager calls out, "Michael, 18 minutes to stage." Michael doesn't respond. Can't respond. Because he's staring at handwriting he spent 6 years trying to forget. And he has 18 minutes to decide what this means. August 1969. 19 years earlier. Motown headquarters, Detroit, Michigan. Michael Jackson was 11 years old when he fell in love with Diana Ross. Not puppy love. Not childhood infatuation. Real love, the kind that reshapes your understanding of what a person can be. The Jackson 5 had just signed to Motown. Berry Gordy's marketing plan. Diana Ross would be their public discoverer and mentor. The Jackson 5 rehearsing at Motown. Diana walked into the studio, wearing a yellow dress. Michael remembers this with crystal clarity 19 years later. Yellow dress, white belt, hair perfect. She smelled like something expensive Michael couldn't name, but would spend the rest of his life trying to identify in other people. She crouched down to Michael's eye level. "They tell me you're special," Diana said. Michael couldn't speak. His throat had closed. His mind had emptied. "You don't have to be nervous around me," Diana continued, smiling. "We're going to be friends." "Okay." Michael nodded. Found his voice somewhere. "Okay." But even at 11, Michael knew friends wasn't the right word for what he was feeling. From 1969 to 1975, Diana became everything to Michael. The mentor teaching him stage presence, how to command a room, how to connect with an audience emotionally. The protector defending him from industry predators, shielding him from inappropriate advances. The ideal, the standard against which he measured all beauty, all grace, all perfection. What the public saw was cute. Photos of Diana and her young discovery. Motherly affection. Professional guidance. The Motown fairy tale. What Michael felt was something else entirely. Obsessive adoration that went far beyond gratitude. Physical reactions he was too young to understand when she touched his shoulder, fixed his collar, kissed his cheek. Jealousy that burned like acid when she dated other men. Dreams about her that made him wake up confused and ashamed and desperately wishing he were older. Diana's dressing room before a TV special. Diana helping 13-year-old Michael with his tie. "You're going to be bigger than all of us someday," she said. Her fingers on his collar. Her perfume filling his lungs. "Really?" Michael's voice cracked. "Really? You have something no one else has. Don't ever lose it." Michael wanted to ask, "Do you see me?" Not as a child. As someone who could be. But he couldn't. He was 13. She was 27. The gap was infinite. 1973, Diana's birthday party. Michael saved for months to buy her a necklace. Real gold, small diamond. $800 that should have gone to his mother. Diana opened it in front of everyone. "Michael, this is too much." "Nothing's too much for you," Michael said. Meaning it, she hugged him. And Michael memorized the feeling. The shape of her body against his. The way her hair smelled. The warmth. He kept that memory for decades. 1975, the gradual distancing. Diana left Motown. Started her film career. Phone calls became less frequent. Michael turned 17. No longer a cute child. Just an awkward teenager. The Jackson 5's popularity was waning. Diana was ascending. The gap between them widened from impossibly large to infinite. 1978 to 1982. Michael thought, if I become successful enough, famous enough, important enough, maybe she'll see me differently. Off the Wall exploded. Michael proved he was an adult artist. But Diana's response was proud, not romantic. "I always knew you'd be a star." Still saw him as the kid she mentored. Thriller preparation and release. Michael became obsessed with creating the biggest album ever, partially motivated by wanting Diana to see him as an equal. Thriller, released in November 1982, became the biggest album in history. Michael was now the biggest star on the planet, bigger than Diana. Now she'll see me. Now I'm worthy. December 1982. The conversation that destroyed everything. Michael invited Diana to Havenhurst to hear Thriller before it exploded into complete phenomenon. Private listening session. Just them. After the album finished, Diana was quiet. "Well," Michael asked, desperate for her approval. "It's incredible, Michael. You're incredible. Do you see me now?" The words spilled out before he had stopped him. "What?" "Do you see me as—" Michael struggled. 24 years old and suddenly 11 again. As more than the kid you mentored. As someone who's— Diana's face changed. Understanding and sadness mixed together. "Michael, you'll always be that kid to me. That brilliant, talented kid I helped raise. That's not a bad thing. But I'm not a kid anymore. I know, but that's how I see you. That's always how I'll see you." The silence after was deafening. Michael never finished the sentence he'd started. Never said, "I've loved you since I was 11 years old." Every woman. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to support the channel. I've dated, I've compared to you. Every song I write, I'm writing for you. I became the biggest star in the world, hoping you'd finally see me. He didn't say it, because Diana's face already told him the answer. She would never love him that way. Could never love him that way. The dynamic was set when he was 11 and she was 25, and no amount of success would change it. After that conversation, Michael and Diana's relationship became cordial, professional, distant. They saw each other at industry events, exchanged pleasantries, maintained the public friendship, but the intimacy was gone. Michael had revealed too much. Diana had been honest about her limitations. Neither knew how to go back. 1983 to 1988, living with a permanent ache. Michael's romantic life became a series of failed attempts to replace Diana. Brooke Shields, beautiful, famous, safe. But Michael couldn't open up. "Why don't you ever really kiss me?" Brooke asked. Michael had no answer because he was still comparing her to Diana. Brief connections that went nowhere. Models, actresses, industry people. Michael couldn't connect because Diana remained the ghost, the standard no one could meet. Diana remained the permanent ghost in every relationship, the first love that taught Michael what connection felt like, and simultaneously taught him that he was too broken to sustain it. November 1988. Michael is 30 years old. Bad World Tour in full swing. Professionally at his peak, but emotionally isolated, lonely, still carrying Diana like a weight he can't put down. 6 years since that devastating conversation. 6 years of no real contact. Diana is 44 years old. Solo career thriving. Living her own life. Separate from Michael, but still thinks about him occasionally. Wonders how he's doing. Feels guilt about the conversation in 1982. Realizes she hurt him more than she intended. The catalyst for Diana's letter. Diana sees Michael's Bad World Tour coverage on TV, sees photos of him performing, reads an interview where he sounds lonely despite the success, and she realizes, I need to reach out, not to rekindle anything, not to give him false hope, but to explain, to acknowledge what he was to me, to apologize for not handling that conversation better. Diana writes a letter, not a card, not a note, a real letter, multiple pages, handwritten, careful. The letter acknowledges the 1982 conversation, apologizes for how she handled it, explains that she does love him, just not romantically, says he'll always be important to her, thanks him for the years they had, tells him she's proud of him, wants him to find someone who can love him the way he deserves. Signed, always Diana. Diana sends a letter to Michael's management, addressed to him, personal, marked to be delivered during his LA shows in November 1988. She doesn't expect a response, just needs him to know she's thought about him, that she cares, that she's sorry. November 13th, 1988. Michael stares at the envelope on the floor. Diana's handwriting, unmistakable. Why now? After 6 years? What could she possibly have to say? Is this closure? Apology? Something else? His stage manager, Michael, 15 minutes. Michael bends down, picks up the envelope, holds it in his hands, feeling its weight. The paper is thick, expensive, multiple pages inside. This isn't a quick note. This is something substantial. Michael walks to his dressing room, sits down, stares at the envelope. Do I open this right before going on stage? What if it wrecks me and I can't perform? But I can't just leave it. I need to know. Michael opens the envelope, pulls out the letter. 3 pages, handwritten, Diana's elegant script. He reads, slowly at first, then faster. His face changes as he reads, tears forming, not from sadness exactly, from relief, recognition, the acknowledgement he's needed for 6 years. The letter says everything Michael needed to hear in 1982. She loves him platonically. She's sorry for how she handled the conversation. She's proud of him. She wants him to be happy. He'll always matter to her. But it's 6 years too late. Michael has spent 6 years trying to move on. 6 years building walls. 6 years accepting that Diana Ross would never be his. And now she's telling him she cares. That he matters. That she's sorry. Where was this in 1982? Where was this apology when I needed it? His assistant knocks. Michael, 10 minutes. I need more time. You don't have more time? Tell them to extend the intermission. Technical difficulty. Whatever. I need 10 more minutes. Michael sits alone with the letter, reads it again and again. The relief of being acknowledged, the anger of it coming so late, the confusion of what to do with this information now. Do I respond? Do I call her after the show? Do I write back? Do I let this be closure and move on? Can I move on now? Or does this letter reopen everything? 9:45. Michael returns to stage. 15 minutes late. The crowd has been waiting. Michael apologizes. The acoustic section begins. This is a vulnerable part. Michael on a stool. Just him and a microphone. Tonight, he performs a song he rarely does. One about lost love. Michael performs. But tonight, with Diana's letter in his pocket, the words feel different. Michael's voice breaks. Multiple times. Tears visible under the stage lights. The audience thinks it's just Michael being emotional, selling the song. But Michael is somewhere else. 1969. Meeting Diana for the first time. 1982. The conversation that destroyed him. 1988. A letter arriving 6 years too late. When the song ends, Michael can barely stand up from the stool. Emotionally wrecked. The audience erupts. Standing ovation. Not for technical perfection. For raw honesty. The rest of the show. Michael performs through to the end. All professional. All flawless. But anyone watching closely can see Michael is carrying something heavy. 11 o'clock. Show ends. Michael takes his bow. Exits immediately to his dressing room. His assistant is waiting. Michael, are you okay? What happened? Michael holds up the letter. This. What is it? Something I needed 6 years ago. 11:30. Michael sits in his dressing room, the letter on the table in front of him. Do I call Diana? Right now? At 11:30 at night? What'd I even say? Michael picks up the phone, dials Diana's number. He's had it memorized for 20 years. Never deleted it. Never used it. It rings. 3 times. 4 times. Diana answers. Hello? Cautious. It's Michael. Silence. Long silence. I got your letter. I wasn't sure you would. Or if you'd read it. I read it. Twice. 3 times. More silence. And Diana asks quietly, and I don't know what to do with it. The conversation. I meant every word. Diana says, I've thought about you constantly since 1982. Felt terrible about how that conversation went. You deserve better. You were honest. You told me the truth, that you could never see me the way I saw you. That's not your fault. But I could have been kinder. I could have explained better. I panicked. You were looking at me like you'd been looking at me since you were 11, and I didn't know how to tell you that I'd never be able to return. That. So why right now? After 6 years. Because I saw you on TV, performing, looking so lonely despite all the success. And I realized I never told you that I do love you, just not romantically. And you deserve to know that you matter to me, that you always will. Michael is quiet, processing. It's too late, Diana. I know. If you'd said this in 1982 or 1983 or 1984, maybe things would be different. But 6 years is a long time. I've spent 6 years trying to accept that you don't love me. And now you're telling me you do, just differently. I'm sorry. I should have said this sooner. Yes, you should have. I still love you, Michael says. That hasn't changed. It's never changed. Every woman I meet, I compare to you. Every relationship I try, I sabotage because they're not you. Michael, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep carrying you. I can't keep hoping that someday you'll see me differently. Because you won't. And your letter, as kind as it is, doesn't change that. Diana is crying now. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I loved you like family, like someone I raised. And I couldn't change that into something else. I know, and that's not your fault. But it doesn't make it hurt less. Silence. Heavy silence. What do we do now? Diana asks. I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe this letter is closure. You said what you needed to say. I heard it, and now we both move on. Can you? Move on. I have to, because loving you has kept me from loving anyone else. And I'm 30 years old. I can't spend the rest of my life in love with someone who will never love me back. Michael and Diana stay on the phone for another hour, talking about everything. The years they had from 1969 to 1982. What he meant to her, truly meant beyond mentorship. What she meant to him, everything, always, why it could never work. Age gap, timing, her inability to see him romantically. What they both need now, to let go, to move forward, the agreement. They'll always care about each other. But they can't keep doing this dance. Michael can't keep hoping. Diana can't keep feeling guilty. The letter was closure. This phone call is goodbye. Not angry goodbye. Not bitter goodbye. Just goodbye. Before they hang up. Thank you, Michael says, for the letter, for caring enough to write it, for all the years you gave me. Thank you for loving me, Diana replies. Even though I couldn't return it the way you wanted, it meant something. You meant something. You meant everything. I know, and I'm sorry that wasn't enough. Me too. Goodbye, Michael. Goodbye, Diana. They hang up. Michael sits alone in his dressing room, holding the letter, feeling lighter somehow. Not happy, not healed, but released. For 6 years, he's carried the question. Does Diana think about me? Does she care? Does she regret how things ended? Now he knows. Yes, She thinks about him. She cares. She regrets. But it doesn't change anything. She still can't love him the way he loves her. And Michael finally accepts that's okay. Some loves aren't meant to be returned. They're meant to teach us what love feels like, what longing feels like, what it means to want something you can never have. Diana taught him all of that, and maybe that's enough. May 1989. 6 months later. Michael is in New York. Sees Diana at an industry event. First time they've seen each other in person since the letter. They make eye contact across the room. Diana smiles. Cautious. Hopeful. Michael smiles back. Genuine. No bitterness. They talk briefly. Polite. Friendly. Not intimate. But not hostile either. You look good, Diana says. So, are you okay? I'm getting there. The letter helped. This conversation helped. I'm not carrying you anymore. Not the way I was. Good. That's good. They part ways. Not as lovers. Not even as close friends. But as two people who matter to each other and have made peace with what they couldn't be. November 13th, 1988. The Forum, Los Angeles. An envelope fell in a backstage corridor. Michael Jackson picked it up, saw Diana Ross's handwriting, and froze. For 6 years, he'd carried her. The first love, the unrequited love, the love that shaped everything that came after. And in that envelope was the acknowledgement he'd needed for 6 years. She cared. She was sorry. She loved him, just not the way he wanted. The letter didn't fix anything. Didn't make Diana suddenly love him romantically. Didn't undo 6 years of pain. But it gave him closure. Permission to stop carrying her. To accept that some loves aren't meant to be returned. Michael performed that night with Diana's letter in his pocket. Sang about loves lost. Cried real tears. Felt the weight of 19 years, from age 11 to age 30. Finally starting to lift. The envelope fell by accident, or maybe by fate. But Michael picked it up. Read the words. Made the call. Said goodbye. And in doing so, he finally began to let go of the woman who defined love for him since childhood. Diana Ross was Michael Jackson's first love, his deepest love, his most impossible love. The letter she wrote arrived 6 years too late to change anything, but it arrived exactly when Michael needed it to finally move forward. Sometimes closure comes from unexpected places, a falling envelope, familiar handwriting, words that should have been said years ago. Michael Jackson picked up that envelope, and in doing so, picked up the pieces of heart he'd been carrying broken for 6 years. If you like this story, please subscribe to support this channel.